You're listening to the Access Success Podcast, produced by Access U, a division of Access Advertising and Public Relations. Hey, let's do something big. I'm your host, Rachel Schneider. Welcome to the Access Success Podcast, where we highlight important topics focused on education in every form it takes. Today, we're talking about the ways that colleges and organizations can better communicate with their audience, no matter what age, and provide more pathways for conversation and mentorship. I recently caught up with a mentor and friend of mine, Diana Patton, after sitting in on her weekly masterclass for becoming a community leader. Diana has coached, consulted, and has been the keynote for several Fortune 500 organizations, along with K-12 schools, colleges, and universities in the U.S. and Canada. Professionally, she's known as the confidence expert. She's a former civil rights attorney and founder of the Rise Advocates Academy, where women leaders overcome challenges and gain the confidence to speak up for themselves and become certified Rise advocates. Diana is also a consultant to several companies, helping them develop diversity, equity, inclusion, and leadership development strategies to create engagement and impact. She's an author and a Toledo TEDx speaker. Today, Diana and I talked about how she founded the Head Full of Dreams mentoring program for 6th grade girls at the Ella P. Stewart Academy for Girls, which involves the University of Toledo's Talented Aspiring Women Leaders mentoring program in Toledo, Ohio. Diana has been featured in several news outlets, including Authority Magazine, Good Morning Washington, ABC, and W2OL 11's Your Day Show, to name a few. And now she's here on the Access Success Podcast. Enjoy the conversation. Diana, it's so good to see you. I'm so happy that you could hop on and chat today. How are you?
Oh, I love chatting with you. I'm doing great. Yeah, I like just talking to real women with real things happening, confident, bold, and all the things. That's what you are. So,
well, that's what you are. And I know that I've learned some of that from you, just from talking to you and learning from you over the years and previous stories that I've been able to work on with you. But before we get into it, for people who are not as familiar with your work, can you just tell us how you got to where you are today and the many things that keep you busy?
Absolutely. I started off as an attorney. I went to college. I ran track at UT, graduated, became an attorney, and spent the majority of my life in the corporate world. But then I realized always gnawing at me was this desire to want to help women rise and to help them recognize their worth. But I always, before exiting out and starting my own business, I spent work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion. I did a lot in that. I did a lot in global purchasing and sourcing, negotiating contracts. And then I spent time as general counsel for a nonprofit. So I did general counsel, vice president work in the executive level. All of that helped me then become the entrepreneur that I am today, to run my own business and do consulting work. I do a lot of speaking and I do a lot of coaching and mentoring through my Rise Advocates Academy. But predominantly, I spend a lot of time doing that diversity, equity, inclusion, and leadership development in the corporate world. So that's what I do now.
Today, I'm really excited to introduce your Head Full of Dreams program to our listeners. So can you tell us a little bit about how that got started?
It's so funny. So one day I was on a treadmill. No, I literally was working with a local school, Polyfox Academy. It was a school for pregnant and mothering teens in Toledo, Ohio. And my thought was, I always wanted to work with what I thought was the most disenfranchised youth. And I always said it was a Black girl that was pregnant because in a stereotypical environment, that young girl has so many obstacles. The obstacle of school. How do I get to school? How do I finish school? The obstacle of a parent who typically in certain families, stereotypically, you got yourself in this situation, you're going to have to get yourself out. So the Polyfox Academy really attracted me because these young girls, I wanted to let them know, I see you. I value you and you are amazing and you have things going for you that you can't even see right now. And so I'm on the treadmill, like, outside of the Polyfox. At the Polyfox, I was at the time mentoring them. I was just being and encouraging them. I taught a couple classes at the school, and I kind of been with them for like 10 years. And then I was asked to be on the board. And so as I was on the treadmill, I'm running and I'm listening to Coldplay. Coldplay, the singer, had a song called Head Full of Dreams with Beyonce.
Mm.
And so I said, that's it. A lot of these young girls have a head full of dreams that they believe are likely dead because of being pregnant or the obstacles and challenges that they face. And so I decided to call this program, the idea, A Head Full of Dreams. And when I introduced it to the board at the Polyfox Academy, they were like, what do you mean you're going to get Coldplay to come sing at the graduation?
Oh,
Beyonce. That's what I said. I said, yeah, we can get to sing at the graduation. So here's how it began. I said, I want to find a way to let them know I see them. And one way to let a young girl, regardless of the way you think, is to see them, is to put some makeup on them, take a photo shoot with them, make them feel beautiful, because it's just the way it is. Some people may not agree with that, but most young girls, that's how they feel. Then we took those photos and we put them on the wall, and we called it the Head Full of Dreams wall. And from there, every other week, we come in, myself and a few other mentors at the time, would talk to them about, various topics, whether that be depression, anxiety, or beauty, or your words, your thoughts, all the things. And then every other month, we chose a Head Full of Dreams student of the month based on certain categories. I would then pick them up and take them out to dinner. That's how it all started. I mean, it all started, and we can break it down from there, but that's how it all started. And I love it. That's how it started at the Polyfox Academy, but it's grown since then. So,
well, and that was what year did you do that at the academy?
Polyfox Academy started the Head Full of Dreams started in 2016.
Okay. And so how has it evolved now? What are you doing now?
Yeah. So that started at the Polyfox Academy, and unfortunately, the school closed. And it closed we ran the program until 2000, and was it like right at the 2.5 years, almost 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
the school closed, and then the pandemic happened.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I was just like, as everyone was, a deer in headlights. This, Rachel, and I'm not, a lot of people don't know this about me, that I went through a severe depression, and I through with the events of George Floyd. And, I work a lot in systemic racism, and that's what I do in diversity. And so the program just died. And my Head Full of Dreams just went in dormant. But then, as a result of some issues, a woman who was at a previous school I was doing consulting at, she started a new school, and it's called the Ella P. Stewart Academy for Girls in Toledo, Ohio. And it's predominantly Black and brown girls. And it was an elementary school. And I said, we're going to revive the Head Full of Dreams. Mm-hmm. And we did. We launched last year with the 6th graders, and it was awesome. It was a little challenge at first because they were all in masks still. And it just creates a different dynamic, And then plus the girls were just coming off of the pandemic. It was just different because the teacher was trying to figure it all out. But now we are in our 2nd year. And this year we at Ella P. Stewart, and we are working with 5th graders. And I also, of course, work with the University of Toledo group to help make this come alive. So,
and how do the University of Toledo students come into the picture?
Yes. So the University of Toledo, I am a mentor / leader for the group called the Talented Aspiring Women Leaders. And they are with the Office of Multicultural Student Services, OMSS. And the director of that program asked me, Diana, would you get involved with OMSS? and this is kind of before the LP Stewart LP Stewart Health Field of Dreams started. So I've been working with OMS for a while. And the goal with them was to be a mentor to the college students, right? To also bring women like me in the community to help the college students. And we mentored them. And then I thought, wait a second, the college students can mentor the student, make it a full circle moment, right? Because they're getting mentoring. As I say, you can mentor at any age. You could be a leader. You could be a mentor at any age. You could be a mentor at 12 to a 5-year-old. I mean, you could be a mentor. So that's what we do. And it's amazing. It's really awesome.
What has it been like to see the college students then interacting with the students at LP Stewart? I mean, what does that look like for, their reaction and for the girls to have that mentorship?
Yeah. So let me talk about what I see with the college students, being the mentor to the college students. What I have to do and what I've done, which is why I wrote my book, Inspiration in My Shoes, was to really peer into that young girl's life. And for me, being in college, not having a backup plan, I didn't have parents who were sending me things every other week. I was on my own at 17. It's really important for me as an adult to always think about what I needed when I was in college. I had nothing. I mean, I walked onto the track team and then eventually, of course, became a college athlete, but I didn't have anybody to really talk to. So when I go and talk to the college students, I'm just being very real with them, sharing my story, being very open, being very transparent. And the key with them is connection. Like they need to be seen, just like the girls at the LP Stewart. So the first thing that I felt like I needed to do, and helping the mentors know, we have to show up authentic with these college students and talk about our stories. Then from there, what that does, it gives them permission to show up authentic with the young girls, right? To really see them and know what it was like to be in 5th grade, and also I think we as a society demean young people. We don't believe that they have a space. They don't have words that matter. And we tend to put them in a place, especially nowadays, because I think a lot of people, and I don't know if it's because I'm on the other side of 50, if I'm hearing things differently.
No, I've heard it too. It's like that saying comes to mind immediately of like the adults are talking. Like, those types of phrases that you just remember from being a kid or being a teen and hearing that.
But I hear it more so like those millennials.
Oh, yeah.
Or those Gen Zs, like they act like they're so, you name it, privileged or whatever. And they clump everybody in one group. And because they know more, they do know more. They're on social media. I'm not saying that they have it all figured out, but they do know more than what a lot of us did when I was younger. I mean, the amount of knowledge that they have, I'm not saying it's all completely together, but
the access to information.
Is different. It's undeniable. And also they are having to navigate a lot of different bits of information. They also are dealing with identity issues, depression. They went through a pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, so I believe that, first of all, I just want them to know I see them and that you're valued and that you're amazing and you're gifted and you have a lot to offer. And when you do that to a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old, it empowers them. But then they go, oh my gosh, they start to get out of their, because see, I believe service is the number one ability to get out of depression, to feel lost, to feel like you don't have hope or purpose. Service is the number one thing to get all those kinds of things, but from a healthy perspective, because the one thing that I talk about a lot is therapy, because a lot of young girls that I tend to work with had come from families who didn't believe in therapy or that it wasn't necessary. And so I spent a lot of time talking about that. And what that does is it gives them permission to talk to the young girls about, going to a counselor, or it's a good thing to talk to a therapist because even my young girls need that. So it's a beautiful, lovely circle of amazingness that we've created.
Well, and what changes or what reactions have you seen the students at LP Stewart having those college kids come over
Well,
the
first
past
of
2 years?
all, I'll tell you, representation matters. I believe that when these girls see these girls from college, and then even myself and others come in, knowing that they don't work there. They're coming there just to spend time with them and to listen to them and to talk to them. That's a whole brightness in their face, right? We know their attitude changes, when they think, oh, someone's coming, they know they need to be on good behavior. They also are excited. So they're going to want to come to school, right? They want to sit in class. They want it. It also is this opportunity where how it feels when someone sees you, right? And they think you're amazing. You feel special. And to know that's why social media works, right? Because we love a like. If we get 10 likes, it's a good day, right? If we get 20 likes, it's a good day. And, we use that positive reinforcement to say, this is a good thing. But then we use that, but then we also get to the point where we can give them information about self-worth. That even if you didn't get any likes, here's what you know about yourself. Here's what you know about you. But we all know at that age, it's really difficult to see that, And so, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to give that to them now. So when they start navigating even more difficult waters, they won't totally lose themselves. We're talking about how we can find our identity. We're talking about the words that we say to ourselves, how we say the words. So our curriculum, what we provide, brings about a sense of wonder and amazement, and their faces light up. They give us so many bits of information because we just are like, what? Tell us more. I mean, because they just talk, and we listen. So we're able to gain insight into some of the things that they might need. And sometimes, I always say, you could spend a whole year with a person, but you don't really listen. If it takes 20 minutes or 5 minutes to really listen to being with a person for I could gain more insight into that young girl taking 20 minutes with her than some people can do for an entire year being with them every day. Because we are able to do that. And that's because we work alongside the most amazing educators. I mean, LP Stewart has some amazing educators and beautiful administration. So I can't say enough about them.
Well, and I think a lot of higher ed institutions and organizations can learn from the programs that you've instituted,
Yes.
especially when it comes to these elements of interpersonal communication.
Yes.
So how would you advise colleges or universities speaking to, an education level? What are some things that they can do to provide resources and support for those students who may be non-traditional students, or students that do have obstacles, or students that they're just trying to reach and provide representation for and somebody to talk to?
Right. So here's the first thing, higher ed folk. Get out of the tower. Get in your community. Connect in your community. Go to workshops. Meet people who are a reflection of your students, right? And get them from the community. And don't just make it one-time event. Make it an actual mentoring program, and don't get so stiff with your mentoring, step 1, step 2, step 3. You know what I mean? We get so stiff that we can't allow, because a lot of these people are working. Let the mentor and the mentee find what's right for them. right?
Mm-hmm.
But engage and you can provide some guidelines, because this is why I believe mentoring programs just don't work, because we get too four cornered, right?
Mm.
And we don't allow that relationship to grow. Relationships grow. It gets messy, it gets good. It's, you know what I mean? But we give guidelines to your mentor to, follow, but don't be so hard and true to that. So I
Mm-hmm.
just think it's really important. I just see in higher education, you get into silos and you also start speaking in a language that's not very real. It's theory based in some real life. Get real life people out here doing the work that you're teaching in your classroom more and more, right? Get your alumni to start to be more involved with your students. And I just think that the connection between community and academia needs to get a little clearer.
Mm-hmm.
Also, too, when the people come on campus, be sure to let them know where to park so we don't get a ticket.
That's across the board, right? Every college.
And don't make it difficult. Have signs when the people come on campus, because sometimes your buildings aren't marked. But if you're getting with your alumni, depending on how much the college has changed, that's, this is just reality, because I spent a lot of time with my alumni. I mean, with my alma mater. And then also too, I used to do a significant amount of work in colleges and schools across America. So you're talking to a person, and I used to recruit students for the law school that I used to work at. So I know about academia, and I know the connection between, me as a professional woman working in the corporate work and doing a lot of work in civil rights and legal work in a nonprofit. There has to be a marrying of the two. Mm-hmm. Start a program like this, and I'm happy to share more, but the Head Full of Dreams is an opportunity to show representation of your students, provide transportation for them. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of students don't have cars. They don't have a way to get to these things. Don't let that be a barrier, right?
Reduce barriers.
Yeah, you need to reduce these barriers. And instead of talking about, some of the things that might be on your typical agenda, when we think about equity, you can think about that, transportation is a barrier to equity, right? Timing of classes, when you have your advisors, you have programs like this, make certain that they're aware of make certain your advisors know how to advise the students to get aware of these kinds of things. And don't assume that everyone has the student union, digest,
right.
To find alternative ways. Text your students, have them opt in. I mean, they all are paying attention to the text messages. Get involved on social media, making certain that they are aware of these things, do TikTok videos, all these kinds of things to create the connection between the student and to know what's going on in their communities. That's the other poor thing I think happens is, which I think it's important to have stuff happen on campus, but there are several people who would love to help students, but they don't even know what's going on campus, because they're two totally different worlds. They're like islands. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's reducing barriers like transportation and access to people. Boards, let me say this. University boards, members, don't be so isolated from the people that you are impacting, right? Because I often in years past, board members are exclusive. They're not accessible. Be accessible, right? Be accessible. Do you know that I actually can probably talk to Jada Pinkett if I get on? I could post, right? She's more accessible than some board members.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping it real. LeBron James is more accessible than some board members at universities. So, that we could talk to them. So we got to think differently in 2022 and beyond in academia.
I think there's so much to be said there, especially with social media and the changes that have had to happen,
Oh, for
like
sure.
just virtually and virtually
Right.
meeting like we're doing now. I mean, think of how often you used to do a Zoom interview before the pandemic. Like,
Right.
and people have
Yeah,
adjusted. So I think a lot of industries and a lot of organizations, including higher ed, need to do the same, not
for
just to reach
sure.
their audience, but like you said, to be accessible for their audience to reach out to them. So I thank you for
Absolutely.
saying that.
And listening sessions. Have
Mm-hmm.
listening sessions. Listen to your students and their needs. They're different. Don't assume that they have the same needs that they had even 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it again for the people in the back. We went through a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's don't, because some institutions went right back to what it was before. Like some of these students are really suffering. Make certain that you have accessible therapy. Even better up. It's a better help.
Oh, the online therapy
I
tools and
mean,
things like that.
yes, that's beautiful. That was a beautiful shift. So and I know I'm not saying that the academic folks are not doing these things. I'm just offering
More awareness and
more
yeah.
awareness and connection to your community. And also I bet you if all of us thought about it, we could find an elementary school in our area.
Mm-hmm.
So if you thought because these schools are suffering, I mean, and I say suffering, meaning like, if we could take time and go, okay, what if I could give an hour or two a month to an elementary school or a high school and listen to what their needs are? Because I just think more times if we sit and listen to people and really hear them out and then ask, well, what can I do? Can I give an hour? Can I give a half an hour to a school? And for the people looking for donors, every university is looking for money to raise money for their school, or have more alumni support. That's one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Creating a program like the Head Full of Dreams that connects the college to the infrastructure, the ecosystem of a community is always a win-win.
And not only that, but when you have University of Toledo students come and talk to fifth graders, those fifth graders are probably going to remember that those students went to
Came
UT. And
from UT.
yeah, so I mean, it's
Yes.
just such a great
Yes,
strategy and relationship building going forward.
for sure.
Tell us about your Rise Advocates program that you're also doing.
So, my whole life, I believe my goal is to help people really speak up and to really advocate for themselves, really understand their worth, really believe in that they have a mission. And so, which is why I went to law school. I became a civil rights attorney because I know what I always think about what I didn't have. And
Mm-hmm.
so, my Rise Advocates Academy helps professional women who have had some success in their work to overcome challenges, adversities, to really activate their voice and gain the courage and confidence to speak up. It doesn't matter if you have a law degree, a PhD, all of the things that they give in college. That doesn't mean anything if you don't have confidence. That means nothing if you aren't going to be bold. And oftentimes women are given labels, stereotypes, so emotional, so angry, so, all of the things. You can keep going. My job with the Academy, which is an 8-week program, is to help women overcome some of those things that are getting in the way to be the CEO of their own organization, to ask for the money that they deserve for
Mm-hmm.
that they're not being paid according with their male counterparts, and to speak up boldly and confidently. So that's what my program is. Our next class starts January 4th.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yes. So if folks are interested, they can, if some folks are working for employers, they could, ask their employers to help pay for it, the professional development, or they could, students, we're going to be doing some scholarships soon. So
That's so exciting.
they can go to
That's awesome.
riseadvocates.com. riseadvocates.com.
Okay. Anywhere else you want to push to where people can find you? I know you're very
yes.
active on LinkedIn.
Oh my
everywhere.
gosh. Oh, for sure. On LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm just starting to kind of get TikTok savvy, and
right.
I have like maybe 100 followers on there, but I'm trying to get better at that. And Instagram, I post almost daily, LinkedIn almost daily. So yes, follow me on social media.
At Diana Patton.
Diana Patton. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Diana, thanks again for being able to talk to us today. I've always learned something new from you, and I'm hoping that we can share more of this information with our audience also so that they are better enlightened just as far as the communication and social emotional connection that they can make in terms of their students and any mentorship programs beyond that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. Keep doing your amazing work. You're beautiful.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Access Success Podcast produced by Access U, a division of Access Advertising and Public Relations. Find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram to keep up with what the world of education needs to hear at Access U Agency, and connect with us at accessu.com. Let's do something big.